Hello dear learners, welcome to Click Education's online class. Today we are going to study Accounting Chapter 2 Transaction. Our today's topic is Accounting Equation. Let's start. Accounting Equation. Accounting equation represents the relationship among the assets, liabilities and owner's equity of a person or business. That means this equation expresses the relationship of a person or business, assets, liabilities and ownership. Okay, let's see the equation. Here is the equation: A equals to L plus E. Here A means assets, L stands for liabilities and E equals equity. That means asset equals to liabilities plus equity. Now we will learn detail about assets, liabilities and equity. Okay, assets. Assets refer to the economic resources that are owned by any business and used to earn revenue. Example, machinery, land, etc. Why machinery is called asset? Because machinery produces goods and that are sold by the business and earn profit. In this way, machinery helps the business to earn profit. So we can call machinery as is an asset. Okay. Liabilities. Liabilities refer to the claim of any third party on the total assets of the business. Example, creditors, loan provider. Okay. Equity. Equity refers to the claim of owner himself or herself on the total assets of the business. Okay. Accounting equation continued. There are four elements that influence the owner's equity E. They are capital, revenue, expenses, drawings. Okay, now we will see how these four elements influence owner's equity. Okay, here is owner's equity, that means E. Here upward arrow means increase, that is noted by plus, and up arrow, that is just above the upward arrow, that is left to right flows, and it means or it indicates the inflows to the business. That is capital that inflows to the business and it increases owner's equity. The other element that increases owner's equity is revenue. So there are two elements that increase owner's equity, that is capital and revenue. Are inflow of cash into the business. Okay, the other two elements that decrease the owner's equity are expenses and drawings. Okay, the downward arrow means decrease in owner's equity, and two arrows, that is left to right, it means cash outflow. So when expenses occur, that means cash outflows, and when owner withdraw money or any goods from the business, then cash or goods outflow also. That's why these two decreases owner's equity. Okay, so plug in the four elements into E, we get the extended version of accounting equation, and that is it. So accounting equation or extended version of accounting equation is A equals to L plus bracket C plus R minus EX minus D. That means asset equals to liability plus capital plus R revenue plus X minus expense minus withdraw or drawings. So this is the extended version of accounting equation. We need to learn this very carefully because it will help us to solve many problems regarded to accounting equation. Okay, now doing more with the accounting equation. Now we will do play with this accounting equation, and now we will see there are 5 unique possible changes that can be occurred in the accounting equation by any transaction. That means a transaction can be can influence the accounting equation in any of these 5 unique possible ways. Okay. Number 1, if total assets increase, total liabilities or equity will also increase. That means if A increases, then either L or E will also increase. That means we make clear when we will see an example. Example 1, started business with taka 5,000. That means taka 5,000 cash inflows into the business. So cash increases, that is asset increases, and at the same time owner owns the business because he invested an amount of money into the business. So business got an owner, that is E will increase. So asset increase, that is A increase by 5,000 taka, and E increase, that is equity increase by 5,000 taka because of capital investment. Okay, let's see another example for liabilities or creditors. Okay, example number 1.1, purchase machinery or equipment on credit for taka 5,000. Okay, that means business purchased machinery or equipment. Here it is depicted as computer from a creditor. Creditor is a person or from who we purchase anything, either it is goods or any asset on account. That means non-cash transaction. So when we purchase any machinery or any goods on credit, they are originate or derives an creditor. So by this transaction, because of machinery, A will increase because machinery is an asset. So A increased by 5,000, and L that is liabilities, and we know already that creditors is a prime elements of liabilities. It is also increases by 5,000, and this is the example of when asset increases, L will also increase. Okay, let's see number 2. If total assets decrease, total liabilities or equity all will also decrease. If total assets decrease, total liabilities or equity will also decrease. Let's say A decrease, that means minus, downward arrow minus. So if assets decrease, either L or E will also decrease. So L and E is are also shown by downward arrow. Okay, let's see an example. Example number 2, paid taka 3,000 to the creditor. Okay, we already know that creditor is a element of L. So see the solution: business paying cash to the creditors. That means cash out is outflowing from the business, and the creditor is getting paid. So it will decrease the asset because of cash disbursement or cash outflows, and it will also decrease the liabilities because of making payment of the creditors. Okay, now we will see another example, and that is paid salary in cash taka 2,000. Okay, so since business paid cash, so it will decrease the asset, and we know that salary is an expense account, so it will decrease owner's equity. So let's see the illustration. Business paying cash to the employees as a salary, so payment of cash will decrease the asset, and salary expense will decrease the owner's equity, because we know expense decrease owner's equity. Okay, A is denoted by downward arrow, so asset is decreased by 2,000, and owner's equity also decreased by 2000. Okay. Number 3, if one asset increases, then other asset will decrease. Then another asset, if there are more than one asset, and if one asset increase, then another asset or other asset will decrease. Let's see, A increases and thus A decreases. It will clear when we will see example. Okay, example number 3, purchase furniture in cash taka 1000. That means the business received furniture and paid cash. So for paying cash, asset decreases, and for receiving furniture, asset increases. So see the illustration. Business for paying cash and received furniture. So outflows of cash decreases the asset, and receive of or inflows of furniture increases the asset. So this is the example of asset increase and asset decrease. Okay, asset increase by 1 lakh and asset decrease by 1 lakh. Upward arrow means plus or increase, and downward arrow means minus or decrease. Okay. Here are number 4. If owner's equity increases, the total liabilities will decrease. Owner's equity increases and the total liabilities will decrease. So we can say that owner's equity is denoted by upward arrow, that is owner's equity increases and thus liabilities decreases. This is because both L and R fall on right side of the equation. So if one element increases, other element must be decreased. Okay, let's see an example. The owner paid the business loan personally taka 5000. Let's see the illustration, graphical illustration first. Business took loan from bank, and on behalf of business, owner paid the loan by cash to the bank. Okay, so one important thing that we need to remember, that there is anything, either cash or any other assets, is brought by the owner into the business must be recorded as capital. So anything that is brought by owner is recorded as capital or must be recorded as capital. So since owner on behalf of business paid the bank loan, so equity or capital must increase. So E increases, and at the same time as bank loan or any loan is paid, so it will decrease liabilities. So E increased and L decreased by the transaction mentioned here. Okay, so L decreases and E increases, both are by 5000. That's it. Okay, let's see number 5. If owner's equity decreases, the total liabilities will increase. Okay, owner's equity decreases. Let's see, owner's equity decreases, so it is denoted by downward arrow, that is minus, decrease, and therefore liabilities will increase, that is denoted by upward arrow, plus. Okay, see example. Goods purchased on credit. We know when we purchase anything on credit, there is that's fall on liabilities. So see the illustration. Business purchase goods on account, that is from creditors. So for purchasing of goods, it will increase expense, and therefore it will decrease owner's equity. We know expense decreases owner's equity, and because of credit purchase, it will increase liability. So we can see the important note, purchasing goods increases expenses and thus decreases the owner's equity. Every expense decreases owner's equity. You have to remember that, otherwise you will not able to solve the mathematical problem. Okay, so by this transaction liabilities increases by 7,000 and therefore equity decreases by 7,000, or vice versa, that is equity decreases by 7,000 and that's why liability increases by 7,000. Okay, this is the summary of the 5 transaction. You can see all together here and can take notes so that you can easily memorize them and have the ability to use them very efficiently or very fast. I'm not illustrating or describing this here anymore. You can pause here and take the notes for further study. Okay. Introduction to accounts. Here I have added some detailed accounts list so that you can study them and can use them in your need when it is required to solve problem. And then this is the list of asset accounts, and they are cash, bank, debtors, accounts receivable, inventory, and this is closing inventory. You have to memorize them. Memorize that it is closing inventory. This is machinery, office equipment, furniture, land and building, supplies of office supplies. Bill receivable, you should remember that all receivable is asset. All receivable is asset. So bill receivable is also asset. Accounts receivable is asset. Okay. Investment, prepaid expenses, and due or outstanding revenue. They all are the example of asset account, and you should also remember that asset account must be debited. Asset account must be debited. That's why I've written at the lower part that all these accounts are debit. Okay, then say liabilities account. Liabilities accounts are bank overdraft. It is very important account. I will discuss it later. Okay, creditors, accounts payable, like accounts receivable, accounts payable is liability. Every payable or all payable is liability. All payable. That's why creditors is accounts payable liability. And you can see after 2 accounts I wrote bill payable. This is also liability. So loan, either it is bank loan or other sources of loan, debenture, bill payable, due expenses, prepaid income, or unearned revenue. Please note unearned revenue very carefully. It will very helpful when you will solve maths. So these all are example of liabilities, and you must remember that all liabilities are credited. All liabilities are credited. All liabilities are credited. Okay, let's see expense account. Okay, this is purchase account, salary, wages, insurance, advertising, bad debts, carriage, discount paid, commission paid, depreciation. Depreciation is very important expense account. Please note very carefully so that you can remember them while it is required to solve math problem. Apprentice allowance, rent, supplies, and all expenses are debit. All expenses are debit. So now we will see revenue account. Revenue accounts are sales or service revenue, discount received. All received is revenue account. All received is a revenue account. So discount received, commission received, tenant or sublet, apprentice premium, and interest and interest received. Okay, are credit. All these revenue account are credit. Okay, let's see owner's equity account. Capital, drawings, net income, capital reserve, and general reserve. You will find only capital and drawings in your textbook in this chapter, but I have added other three for your convenience. So try to learn them all. And we know owner's equity is credit, so I wrote credit on the bottom of the box. So these all are the list of accounts you need to study and learn to solve the maths. Now we will move on to solve a practical math problem, and see you there. Okay. Well, this is the math that we are going to solve today. Practice problem 1. Let's read the requirement first. Okay. Show the effects of the above transaction in accounting equation. Okay. So I will solve it actually in tabular format, and on the right side you can see I have already prepared a tabular format to solve this problem. So let's read the question first, so that we can identify how many assets account and liabilities accounts are there. Okay. Nargis Akhtar has started a tailoring business named Nargis Tailors on March 1, 2017. Transactions of the first month are mentioned below. March 1. Invested Taka 20,000 in business as capital. We know when owner invested into the business, then cash inflows to the business. So our first account is cash. So I can write here cash. Okay. Then owner's equity is already here, so I do not need to write anything here. It is already written. Okay, let's see another transaction. March 3, shop rent Taka 5,000 paid for the month of March. It is not asset account, rather it is expense account. We will see it later. Let's find asset and liabilities. March 9, bought sewing machine by cash Taka 15,000. Here is another asset, that is machine. Okay, so I can write here machinery. You can write here also sewing machine, no problem. Okay, I write here machinery. Then March 14, stitching wages. This is revenue account. We will see it later. Let's find asset or liabilities account. Amount spent for publicity. This is expense account. Revenue from customer. For March 22, here is another asset. This is receivable. Sorry, I didn't notice it first time. So the March 22 receivable, that is, we know receivable means accounts receivable, or we can write debtors. And March 25, repair of sewing machine Taka 300. There is no asset or liabilities account. Below 22nd March realized, it is also revenue account. So there are three asset accounts. They are cash, machinery, and debtors. And though there is no liabilities account, but I would like to write creditors just to fill the column and for the formalities. Okay, so my table is ready for input. Okay, let's read the math again to record the transaction into accounting equation. So March 1, 2017, March 1. Okay, invested Taka 20,000 in business as capital. So we know cash inflows 20,000 and capital increases, or owner's equity increases by 20,000. So I write 20,000 under cash and 20,000 on equity side. Okay, let's read next transaction, that is March 3, shop rent Taka 5,000 paid for the month of March. Okay, we have already learned that when we paid any expense, we may make it either with either cash or check. Since there is no mention of check, we will consider it as cash cash transaction. So by this transaction March 3, cash will decrease by 5,000, and we know expense decreases owner's equity, so owner's equity also decreases by 5,000. So that's our solve. Okay, March 9, bought sewing machine by cash. Since we bought the machine by cash, that means we pay cash against the machine. So Nargis Akhtar received machine and paid cash. So by the transaction of March 9, cash will decrease by 15,000 and machinery will increase by 15,000. Okay, I would like to say that you should remember every transaction will influence any two of the element of accounting equation, and you will never find any transaction that will influence all the elements of the accounting equation at a time. So please remember that we have to write a double entry. We have learned from our theory that this is a double entry system. So every transaction will influence any two of the elements of or among three elements of accounting equation. Okay, let's move on to the next question. That is March 14, stitching wages realized taka 20,000. Realized means the business have got the money. So this is a revenue account, and we know we realized the wages, stitching wages in cash. Actually we have to consider this is cash transaction. So March 14, cash increases by 2,000, and because of revenue account, equity account elements or equity also increases by 2,000. Okay, March 17, amount is spent for publicity of the shop. Publicity of the shop means advertising, and we can say advertising is an expense. So this is also paid by cash. So March 17 will decrease cash by 1,000 and advertising expense, so it will also decrease owner's equity. Every expense decreases the owner's equity. Okay, March 22, receivable from customer for stitching wages. We know receivable means debtors, and debtors mean assets. So this stitching wages, Nargis Akhtar haven't received yet, so it will not a cash transaction, it is credit transaction, and we know debtors originate from credit sale, so or credit service, whatever it is. So by the transaction of March 22, this is debtors increases by 1,500, and since it is revenue, owner's equity also increases by 1,500. Okay, transaction date 25, repair of sewing machine taka 300. Since it is a repair account, this is expense account, so it is made in cash. So March 25, this it will decrease cash, and because of being expense account, it will also decrease owner's equity. Okay, March 30, bill of 22nd March realized taka 1,200. Okay, note that transaction dated 22 receivable. Now in transaction dated 30, we are collecting the amount from the debtors. So when we collect from any debtor, it must decrease the debtor and it must increase either cash or check. Since here is no mention of check, we will consider it as cash transaction. So by the transaction of March 30, cash increases by 1200 and debtors decreases by 1200, because we have collected the amount 1200 amount from debtors worth 1500. So we have written all the transaction into our table. So we need to add one thing. I would like to say that I have prepared this math in Microsoft Excel, so please ignore the Excel mechanism, just focus on accounting solve. So I will sum them. This is the sum of cash, so it is 1900. This is the sum of machinery account, this is 15,000, and this is the sum of debtors is 300. Okay, and finally this is the sum of owner's equity, and it is 17,1200. Okay, we can sum them up, all assets. So sum here all the assets, it is 17,200, and owner's equity itself, since there is no liabilities account in this math, so assets equals to owner's equity, and this is 17,200. So both sides equals, and this is the solve of the practice problem 1. And one thing I would like to say now, that is, you have to write comment. You have to write comment for every owner's equity transaction, so that here you should write capital investment. Since there is a small space, so I am not writing full, I am writing in short. Okay, then for this transaction you should write rent expense. You have to write, must write it your exam, otherwise teacher will deduct some marks. Okay, for March 14 you should write service revenue. Okay, then advertising expense 17, advert expense. Okay, then service revenue again, and this is 300 is repair expense, and that's it. So this is the total and perfect solve of accounting equation maths, and you can practice this by following my solve. And that's all from today, and we will meet in next video.